Coming up, the lack of rainfall is prompting more and more towns to restrict water usage. Will your community be next? Vandalism in a South Fargo neighborhood, what one person saw, and will it be enough to find out who did it? And for the first time in a decade, Minnesota unites, hoping to get the state through the extreme dry conditions. Valley News Live at 10 is next.
This is Valley News Live at 10.
Good evening, everyone. There's no sign of a let-up to the drought in North Dakota and Minnesota. Tonight, the list of towns and cities restricting their water usage is growing. In Barnesville, for example, they're battling the conditions without the use of its water tower. Valley News Team's Aaron Walling has our story.
Both from a gut level and from a statistical level, both, this is as dry as it's been.
In Barnesville, they're facing some serious uncertainty, calling for level 3 restrictions on the use of water in town.
We have a lot of very dry grass, shrubs and trees that are getting drier. I mean, areas that are not being irrigated or lawns that aren't being sprinkled are turning brown. It's been a long haul without adequate rain.
Moorhead and Dilworth are also under water restrictions after the Minnesota Department of Natural Resources indicated that we are on the brink of a severe drought. Not all communities are under water limitations. Fargo and West Fargo have not reached such levels, but the Fargo City Water Treatment Plant is keeping a close eye on it.
Those flows have to drop substantially for us to really get into severe restrictions. We'll look at it. We're watching it, day by day. Every day we watch the flows and demands, but right now we're okay. We're quite a ways away from that yet.
Whether you're being restricted or not, everyone is awaiting the return of rain to provide some much needed relief.
As far as the drought in general, I mean, we just have to wait for rain. And we could sure use some.
In Fargo, Aaron Walling, Valley News Live.
Grand Forks has also implemented water restrictions, and late this afternoon, Minneapolis did so as well. Now, there was some rain that fell today. This was on 45th Street South near I-94. Let's throw it over to meteorologist Hutch Johnson for the details and whether there's any more moisture out there. Hutch?
Yes, indeed, we do. Boy, I'll tell you what, all of that smoke we started our day with really pushed out of here by south winds and that rain, that combination helping to cleanse our atmosphere. This is how we started the day. That pall was thick in Grand Forks, in Fargo, out toward the Dakota Magic Casino. It was brutal out there. In fact, morning levels of air quality were either hazardous or very unhealthy across much of the area and now have improved because of that south wind and rain. As we head into the evening, we have more showers making their way through. Let me show you here on the big wall. As we take a look at this, we do have a couple of sprinkles right now in the FM area. This yellow batch here moving toward the airport could actually leave a little wetting on the sidewalk. This is not going to amount to much, maybe even not a hundredth in some spots, but boy, any rain feels good. It sure smells good. Now there's some soaking showers from Monoman County near Nadawash down through the Height of Land Lake, just east of Detroit Lakes, down into northeastern parts of Otter Tail County. A few sprinkles up toward Lake of the Woods and War Road as well this evening. We'll have a look at these temperatures. We're cool here now, but the heat is out to the west and it's on its way. We'll have hour-by-hour details on what we can expect in your forecast coming up here in just a couple of moments. But by and large, it looks very hot. So these raindrops, even though they're few and far between, are beneficial.
We need them all.
Yes.
Thanks. There was some rain, a couple of people rather, that had to fork over some cash to repair their cars after a vandal did some serious damage. Valley News Team's Nishay Taylor is here with the details. Nishay?
Mike, the vandalism happened on 9th Avenue Circle between 9th Avenue and 10th Avenue South in Fargo. Someone I talked to in the neighborhood says this kind of thing is only getting worse. The two cars that were damaged were parked on the street. In this video, you can see windows smashed. Even the side view mirrors were destroyed or completely torn off. One woman who lives in the area says she has noticed a lot more vandalism happening within the last week. She was a victim herself. Her car was keyed. She says she could not imagine experiencing this type of damage.
I need to move, so I can't afford for my car to get smashed up like that. A lot of these apartments don't have security cameras around there, so it'd kind of be near impossible to tell who did it or like when it even happened.
Now, another person I spoke to who did not want to go on camera, he said he saw a woman with a large brick using it to vandalize both of those vehicles. Now, hopefully that will be a clue into solving this case. Mike?
Thanks so much, Nishay. And if you saw something in this area, that's 9th Avenue Circle between 9th Avenue and 10th Avenue South, please contact police. A small-town dog kennel is being investigated after a man claims the kennel's maltreatment led to the dog's death. The kennel in question is in Manville, North Dakota. That's in Sargent County. The man states that his 4-year-old Siberian Husky named Echo was picked up on Sunday in dire condition and died less than 2 hours later.
She was incoherent. She couldn't stand up. She couldn't keep her head up. She couldn't put her tongue in her mouth. Her mouth was matted shut when we first picked her up. She had sores all over her legs from soaking in her own waste.
The sheriff's office says that the cause of death has been ruled heat stroke, but North Dakota State University is testing the dog to verify that. We reached out to the Milner Kennel, and in a text they stated they will not be commenting until the investigation is over. North Dakota's health department took COVID experts to the people by hosting a virtual town hall today with doctors to discuss vaccines and fertility. The physicians answered questions concerning the effect COVID-19 has on pregnant women when compared to the rest of the population and whether the vaccine would pose any threats to an unborn child. They also discussed whether there's a correlation between COVID vaccines and a couple's ability to conceive.
Thus far, we do not see any increased risk of developing infertility, either in the near or distant future with receiving this vaccine.
Dr. Christina Broadwell with Sanford Health Fargo says if you have any questions, don't hesitate to reach out to your physician or your healthcare provider. Climbing cases among the unvaccinated are raising concerns about Minnesota's battle against a highly contagious form of COVID-19. According to the New York Times, the average daily case count in the state has now tripled over the last 2 weeks. The positivity rate is at the highest level it's been since June. Esme Murphy breaks down the advice on what the vaccinated and the unvaccinated should do in a crowd.
Let's use the upcoming Minnesota State Fair as an example. The CDC breaks down their guidance in 2 categories, vaccinated or not vaccinated. Consider a family of 4 going to the fair. Mom and dad are vaccinated, the kids are not. The vaccinated parents don't need a mask and they don't have to worry about social distancing. The CDC and the Minnesota Department of Health agree that both kids should wear a mask at all times during their visit to the fair, and they should try to socially distance 6 feet, especially when they take off their masks to eat or drink. Well, social distancing is almost impossible at a fair. And experts warn that unvaccinated children are very much at risk with the stronger and more contagious Delta variant.
This is infecting young people. We are seeing rises in severe disease and hospitalization among young people.
Dr. Gregory Poland is a national expert on vaccines at the Mayo Clinic. He says he would wear a mask at the state fair even though he's fully vaccinated. MDH's Chris Erzman says this.
It's never wrong to wear a mask, and certainly even if you're vaccinated and you're going into a high-risk setting, a mask just gives you additional protection.
If vaccinated people are getting COVID, why should the unvaccinated get the shot? Well, here all the experts agree. They say if you are vaccinated, your odds of getting COVID and the Delta variant are dramatically lower, and your symptoms will be a lot less severe.
The health department says the Delta variant now makes up 75% of new infections in Minnesota. After being named to the January 6th Select Committee, North Dakota's lone representative in Congress, Kelly Armstrong, has been removed. It comes after House Speaker Nancy Pelosi's decision to reject 2 committee members. Minority Leader Kevin McCarthy retaliated by pulling the other Republicans. Armstrong says the move by the House Speaker was to maintain her power.
I don't think this committee is about the last election. I don't even think it's about the next election. It's about the Speaker's office maintaining an absolute iron grip on her conference in the People's House for the next 18 months.
Republicans are threatening to not participate in this investigation until all 5 of the original Republicans are appointed to that committee. As expected, Senate Republicans today blocked a vote to start debate on a $1.2 trillion bipartisan infrastructure bill. Majority Leader Chuck Schumer actually voted with Republicans, so he can use a procedural move and bring the bill back to the floor for another vote. Republicans are pushing for more time to strike a deal with Democrats and write the legislation. The goal is to try again to advance the bill by early next week. Democrats in the U.S. House are calling for federal funding of charter schools to be cut. That proposal appears as a small provision tucked into a massive federal budget proposal. It would reduce funding for charter schools by $40 million and could potentially limit many charter schools from receiving federal funds altogether. The National Alliance for Public Charter Schools says it would impact millions of students who are usually children of color and from low-income families. Still ahead tonight on Valley News Live at 10 as the struggle with drought continues. How Minnesota is turning to all its resources to provide you with help.
Once again, our day was coolest in northern Minnesota, near 70 degrees there, but we quickly saw temperatures warm to near 90 here in the FM area and out in the James River Valley. More heat is on its way to the valley. I'll have hour-by-hour details, and we'll talk a little bit about how long it sticks around next.